Lord shall return, and we will be the elect of God forever. The Feast of Trumpets went on towards the end of the year. It was the first day of the 7th month. New Year's Day, new moon, the regathering of Israel, you might say. It was important for us, for Israel's to be gathered back to their own home. In Jeremiah 16, it says, they are to be summoned by angelic trumpeters. It will be observed the Feast of Trumpets at Jerusalem, the Day of Atonement. On the 10th day of the 7th month, the antitype is an atonement for Israel and for us. The acceptance of the atonement for a nation. Feast of Tabernacles was the last. On the 8th day, the 15th through the 22nd day, they set at Booths, where they spent one day making temporary dwellings, 7 days living in them. During this time, all leaven or sin was to be removed from their permanent dwelling. There's only one way to remove leaven and sin from our permanent dwelling. And that is to turn our life and our heart over to Christ. To remember, when we celebrate this day, sun rising, it was like we're celebrating the resurrection. Remember Mary, they came running to the tomb before it was even daylight. The reason she was there at the tomb was to finish the job that they had started in the embalming process or the cleansing process. They would take and put spices all throughout the body and then wrap it tightly with linen. It was supposed to keep the body fresher and from smelling bad. Because many graves were still yet in caves in the mountain, like the grave that Jesus was buried in was just a rock rolled in front of it to seal the entrance to his burial place. What? The 7th day or Sabbath is to the week, a day of rest. So the 7th month to the other 6 months is a type of the period of rest, a sabbatical rest of the millennial period, in relation to the other 6,000 years of the world's work week. Like the Lord's Supper, it is to be a memorial pointing back to the cross and forward to the coming. So the Feast of Pentecost will be a memorial to Israel, pointing back to Egypt and forward to the millennium. All of this is happening in rapid succession. By the time he's on the cross, he had to be off the cross before sunset. As the Jews had a custom that they could not be hanging or suffering any kind of punishment at that time. They were to be off the cross. And Jesus was off the cross and put into a temporary tomb. a borrowed tomb. Jesus never had his real tomb. Well, interruption here. That's because I forgot to turn off my phone. I just want to remind you how important Easter is to the church. In my many years of ministry, I have never seen an assault on the church and the establishment of our worship